We've got ourselves a legend of the French scene, now departed from the French scene. Nathan, you're standing here in London again, and I actually had the pleasure of interviewing you back at ECS last year as well, where you guys managed to go all the way. It's got to have a special place in your heart.
For some reason, tournaments in England and London and the I series back in the Souls days were always very good for us. So yeah, I'm looking forward to be playing against here.
Well, hopefully Blast can be particularly good for you guys as well, because this is one of the tournaments where, there's pretty much good teams across the board, there's best of threes across the board, there's double elimination for you as well, so there's no easy win, but there's also no win that doesn't bring you guys some recognition as a team, and that's something you guys definitely need. Going into it, you've been invited to Katowice, you've been invited to a lot of events here and there, and there has been some controversy around it. Do you think that you guys are, as a team, are good enough to warrant that right now?
So I think there are two ways to it. In terms of a competitive stance, some tournaments we've been invited to, it's really arguable whether or not we should be there, right? We've been mostly going through open qualifiers and then been invited to very specific tournaments, right? Now when it comes down to leagues and things that are going to happen in the future, there is a real question on does everybody have to qualify, or do you want to have teams in your league that bring viewership and stuff like that? It's a debate that has been for ever, pretty much. And in Counter-Strike, it makes a lot of sense since it's sort of an open format. So I think it's not for me. To judge that. Ultimately, organizers invite whoever they want because it's their tournament, their product, and all of that. So they do what they want, but yeah, I can completely understand that on a competitive standpoint, it is not always easy to justify all of that. But I mean, as us players, we're obviously very thankful to be participating to any tournament that we can have really at this point.
Well, that was the only hard question that I had for you right now. We can go over to the...
Starting hard.
Well, we can go over to the easier ones right now. And one of the easier ones is something I'm excited about. So Mantu's on your team right now. And I actually managed to catch a lot of his games back when he was playing even in Meisterschaft. And I was very impressed with how much of a structured AWP he is, despite being at a slightly lower competitive level back then. Has it been surprising for you seeing him come into his own and, seeing how he interacts with the team overall?
When we started trialing him, more or less, it was very, very short. I knew that he had something special compared to other players. He had something extra in several ways. So first, his attitude towards other players and the game itself, I think, is very good. His background as well, the studies that he's made and all of that, and also playing in attacks, I think, to me, is a good thing where he already experienced structure that you always need at a higher level. You cannot just play YOLO and do whatever you want. So to me, those are all a lot of good things for him. And then it's important for us to be able to enable him to do whatever he wants also, because he obviously has very high skill setting, and for him to go wild once in a while in some rounds and make it easy for us is something we're really searching for him to control fully. But I mean, he's following the structure very, very well, and it's not a matter of a lot of experience. The more situations he's going to play, the better he's going to be for sure.
So Nathan, the other thing that I had to ask about was communication-wise, which is that you've just come out of, well, kind of just, but you came out of, having played in French rosters for a very, very long time, and Alexi, obviously, very young in-game leader, but came out of playing for a Finnish roster for over a year. Sure. Both of you are the primary voices in the team. Is it difficult adjusting to a fully international roster where everyone is from a different place?
There is certainly some difficulty to it. It's hard to really quantify it because it's a quite an abstract concept. But there are definitely several things that we're working on very actively to make better, because communication to me comes in two parts. There's communication within the rosters, so people speaking to one another to understand each other better. Obviously, because we don't know each other from before, except from hey, in the lobby, and then that's it. Then we have to learn each other pretty much on a day-to-day basis, and so this has been going extremely well in the sense that we're very open to one another and we talk a lot. So this is very, very good. In terms of communication in game, we still have quite some issues. They're not massive ones, they're just small ones that will cost you some rounds at a higher level, but those are things that we can definitely fix. So It's nothing too bad for sure, but it's taken a bit of time, and like it's along the lines of what we expect as well. Like we don't want to be good after 2 months of creating the team, right? We want to really work on a good basis and then get better and better over time, and after several months, then show our full potential. But it's a process, so communication overall has been good, but there are obviously in game especially things to improve on.
Well, this is also a very different team from what you're used to in another way as well, which is that typically teams that you've been in have always had one or two clear star players, be it Shocks, be it Kenny S, be it Zaiwu in Vitality. It's been a clear star player, and then everyone else is kind of setting up around them. Now in this team, you've got yourselves Mantu, who is the AWPer who can have a very high skill set, and you've got yourself Valde, and there's no questions asked about how good he is. You've got yourself Issa as well, who's also fantastic, and obviously you're the old rock. Alexei's also got his moments as well. Is it difficult having to structure a team around so many players when your communication's already having some slight issues, like you said?
Sure. There are obviously some issues and things we run into, but I think probably not in the sense of what people realize. Of like gathering everyone together, because I saw Blame F, talking about this in like one of his past interview, and to us it's a bit different where all the players are going to shine when everybody understands 100% and fully the system that we're playing into, that Alexei is establishing. And so that is the main point for us, to be able to enable at the best of our abilities. And this is the main thing we have to work on, because once that happens, at least what we saw in practice, and people are comfortable, then everybody pops off, and then the whole team is on the same page and on the same level, and then it's just good to see and to play. And when it doesn't happen and there is confusion, there is still not yet that full mentality of being soldiers for some of the players and wanting to have a sort of a voice, while the whole concept of the team and what we want to create is Alexei and me taking care of like mostly part of the communication, rotation and all of that, and for the players to just have full trust and headshot people. That's just the kind of general, very global structure we want to do. And right now, because obviously Valde was in-game leading, Issa has a voice as well, like probably stronger than what people imagine. Then we have to adapt all of that. So once we're going to be able to find that great balance is when we're going to perform at our best. But that takes a bit of time and experience, to negate all of that in their brains and just to suppress that more and more and to have that full synergy and trust from one another.
Well, you guys will definitely have some time to establish yourselves up right there. But you mentioned just now that the philosophy in the game for you guys was planned to be that it's going to be you and Alexei, who's really kind of figuring out rotations and everything. Everyone else just has to focus on the aim. But how much of a say do you have in calling in that case? Because I was under the impression it's just Alexei largely doing it.
Yeah, it is. We tried two different versions. Ultimately, we stuck with Alexei for the calling, and so what I'm doing now is helping him and Casper with Casper Raga, our coach, with preparation, especially for the city sides, because I have a very good understanding, and I also want to bring a lot more simplicity to the whole roster and like the way we approach everything. So those are the main things that I do, and then in game I control my parts of the map. So there is trust between Alexei and me, and I control my parts of the map. And we work that way because I know what's going on my bomb side and he cannot see everything, So we work that way for the most part. I help with mid-run calls as well, and that's pretty much it. The structure is fairly simple.
Well, I'm sure that this weekend will be a big proving point for you guys as well. But finally, a slightly easier question for you guys. Going into it, we don't really 100% know where OG will be as fans. Right. So to you as a team, from the three teams that are here, 100 Thieves, EG, and G2, who do you think is the hardest matchup, and who do you think is the easiest matchup?
Shit, that's supposed to be an easy question.
Well, I mean,
yeah. I think of those three teams, it's rough because all the teams are very good in their own respect. I think G2 is good for us to play against because they're pretty much in the same pace of us, where they have structure, and it's often hard to find that balance between structure and liberty. So if you manage to break this, then you can have an easier time, I guess, for them adapting and all of that. So I guess that would be the easiest matchup. And the hardest matchup, I'd say EG probably. They're a very solid team all across. Stanislav is a very smart leader, so you, especially now after the small break they had, they probably came up with like a lot of new things knowing them, and so it's going to be quite a surprise coming against them in the first game.
Well, they're going to be heading up against him in the first game, like Nathan just mentioned. NBK with us today, and we'll be with you tomorrow on the stream as he goes up against the Evil Geniuses. Nathan, thank you so much for joining us. This has been GGRecon, and you can catch the rest of our information, the rest of our coverage at ggrecon.com/blast. Thank you, Nathan.